It starts subtly. Fewer messages, shorter replies, less warmth in their voice, less spark in their eyes. You replay conversations, analyze gestures, reread texts, searching for the moment something shifted. And whether it's a new romance or a long-term connection, that quiet pulling away stirs a storm inside you. But here's the truth most never hear in time. Chasing won't bring them closer. Presence will. Self-abandonment won't win them back. Self-mastery might. This video isn't about playing games. It's about reclaiming your center when someone else loses theirs. It's about becoming magnetic not through pressure, but through peace. When someone pulls away, your reaction determines everything. This is your moment, not to panic, but to evolve. Before we begin, if you find value in this kind of grounded, timeless guidance, the kind that doesn't tell you to be cold or needy, but something stronger, something rooted, then take a second to subscribe. Share this with someone who needs clarity more than comfort. And if a particular line in this video resonates, don't keep it to yourself. Comment below. Let's build a space where depth matters. Now, let's begin. Because they may be pulling away, but what you do next could make all the difference. Chapter 1. Stay calm and centered. When someone begins to distance themselves, the most common and most dangerous response is emotional turbulence, panic, overthinking, a desperate need to fix, to clarify, to close the gap. And while those reactions may feel urgent, they are rarely useful. The Stoic response, the one most likely to restore your footing, and perhaps even rekindle the bond, begins with a commitment to calm, not the absence of care, but the presence of control. Your calm is not silence, it's power. It's the choice to slow your breath, to resist compulsive action, to keep your mind from spiraling into imagined futures. When you stay calm, you keep your value intact. You protect your dignity, and more importantly, you send a signal, not just to them, but to yourself, that your worth is not dependent on their closeness. Remember this. People often pull away to gain perspective, to test space, to find clarity. If your reaction confirms their worst fears, that the bond is smothering, unstable, desperate, you've accelerated their exit. But if your reaction reflects balance, security, and poise, you create the conditions for their return. You cannot control their distance, but you can control your presence. You can wake up, exercise, journal, meditate, do the things that root you in the here and now. Pour your attention into things that don't crumble when they pull away. Strengthen the life that doesn't require their constant nearness to be meaningful. Because that life, the life that is full and rich and stable, becomes infinitely more attractive than the one built solely around them. Now ask yourself this: when they pull back, do you collapse or do you deepen? Do you flail or do you plant your feet? Most never pause long enough to ask. They leap into action, trying to fix what was never theirs to control. But calmness, true calmness, is magnetic. It says, "I'm whole," even when you're unsure. A stormy reaction might win attention, but it rarely wins connection. If they're watching you from afar, wondering whether they made the right decision to step back, let them see you steady. Let them see that you do not fall apart, not as a show, not as a tactic, but because you've built that strength long before this moment came. This is the Stoic way. Not detached but composed. Not cold but grounded. It's the difference between being reactive and being resilient. Let them wonder how you kept your fire without losing your peace. And here's something worth reflecting on. What do you do when you feel someone slipping away? Do you chase, freeze, withdraw, or do you return to your breath, your rituals, your reason? Share your approach in the comments, not because you need approval, but because your reflection might just offer clarity to someone else walking the same edge. Chapter 2. Don't chase, reflect. The instinct to chase is ancient. When we feel connection slipping, we run after it. We reach, we plead, we ask why. We search for clues and explanations, hoping that action will reverse the drift. But chasing does not solve disconnection. It usually deepens it. And so, instead of running toward them, you turn inward. You reflect. Because not everything that leaves needs to be followed. There is a crucial difference between action and reaction. Chasing is reaction, driven by fear, not strength. Reflection, on the other hand, is deliberate. It's the stillness that reveals what's really happening. Why are they pulling away? What shifted? Were you ignoring signs? Were you losing yourself in the relationship? Or were they never truly present to begin with? Reflection demands that you sit with discomfort without immediately trying to eliminate it. It's the art of listening to silence, theirs and yours. It's the bravery to admit that maybe this space, this uncertainty, has more to teach you than any direct answer could. When you chase someone who's pulling away, you often sacrifice your dignity in the process. You bend, you beg, you become a version of yourself that isn't rooted in strength, but in lack. That energy, anxious, needy, performative, rarely calls someone back. But reflection? That calls you back to your clarity, your standards, your truth. What did this relationship stir in you? What parts of yourself did you lose or find? What are you afraid to face now that their presence is fading? These questions don't come with instant answers, but they are vital, because in answering them, you become more than the person who simply got left behind. You become the person who grew, who took the fracture and forged something whole from it. Sometimes they pull away because of their own turmoil. Sometimes it's because of mismatched timing. Sometimes it's because they sensed you were no longer being fully yourself. But until you pause and reflect, you'll never know. And worse, you'll repeat the pattern. Reflection is not passive. It's powerful. You can write, you can walk, you can speak to a mirror, or sit quietly beneath the sky. But whatever form it takes, the aim is the same: to reconnect with the part of you that exists beyond their approval. Because when you know who you are without them, you finally become someone who can connect with them, or with someone new, without fear. You are not chasing love. You are becoming it. You are not chasing clarity. You are creating it. When you reflect, you take the story out of their hands and begin writing your own. So take a moment, and if you feel called to, share below, what did you learn the last time someone pulled away from you? What did your reflection reveal? Someone else reading might need your words more than you know. Chapter 3. Adjust your energy. Energy is not always about effort. Often it's about essence. When someone pulls away, it's easy to believe that the solution lies in doing more. More texts, more calls, more affection, more explaining. But in truth, it's rarely the amount of effort that drives someone closer. It's the quality of your energy that determines how they feel in your presence, and even in your absence. Think of it like this: you can say all the right words, but if your energy carries tension, desperation, or uncertainty, the other person will feel it. They might not consciously understand what changed, but something will feel off-putting, heavy. The relationship becomes less about connection and more about emotional labor. And when love starts to feel like a responsibility instead of a refuge, people retreat. Now here's the part most miss. Adjusting your energy is not about suppressing your feelings. It's about becoming aware of the energy you're radiating and choosing to transform it. Not just for their sake, but for your own peace. If your energy has shifted into something anxious or reactive, don't shame yourself. Just notice, awareness is always the first doorway to change. Are you radiating calm presence or anxious attachment? Are you grounded in your own life or orbiting theirs like a lost moon? These are questions that sting a little when we answer them honestly. But they are necessary because the way you feel within yourself echoes louder than anything you say to someone else. So how do you adjust that energy? You start by slowing down. You remove the constant need to respond. You step back from the mental treadmill of what-if scenarios and begin feeding your nervous system with peace. Walk without your phone. Breathe intentionally. Move your body. Declutter your space. Speak kindly to yourself, especially in moments when the silence between you and them feels the loudest. Your energy begins to shift when you begin to trust. Not just trust them, that's fragile and dependent, but trust in yourself, in the timing of things, in the idea that what is meant for you cannot be scared away by stillness or honesty. Trust turns anxious energy into magnetic composure. You can also return to rituals that anchor you. The gym, a book, a craft, a spiritual practice, something that reminds you that you are a being with gravity, not a balloon floating wherever their winds may blow. Because the more rooted you are, the more your energy begins to emit something unmistakable: presence, strength, safety. It is when your energy becomes lighter, freer, and more grounded that people feel safe to come closer. Why? Because you are no longer grasping. You are no longer sending signals of panic, but signals of peace. That energy does not chase. It does not beg. It does not smother. It simply is, and that kind of energy. It invites, it attracts, it endures. Some will recognize this shift in you and step back toward your orbit, curious, compelled, quietly drawn to the way your light has changed. Others may still drift. That's all right, because the goal was never to control the outcome. The goal was to become someone who doesn't lose themselves when someone else pulls away. If you're willing, write in the comments below. What habits or rituals help you reset your energy when emotions run high? You never know who might be waiting to try something that works for you. Chapter 4. Get back to your core. When a bond begins to fray, the first instinct is to focus outward, to scan the other person for signs, to analyze their behavior, to decode every word or silence. But this hyper-focus on them pulls you further from the most vital task at hand, coming home to yourself. Because the truth is, relationships, especially the romantic ones, have a sneaky way of shifting our center. We forget, little by little, who we were before them, what we stood for, what filled our days, what brought us alive. In the glow of connection, we sometimes abandon parts of ourselves to better fit the shape of us. And when that connection starts to fade, we're left staring into a mirror we no longer recognize. Getting back to your core isn't an act of rebellion. It's an act of reclamation. It means asking, who am I when I'm not trying to be lovable in someone else's eyes? Who am I when I'm not wrapped around their moods, their availability, their attention? What did I love before I loved them? What did I neglect in myself to stay close to someone else? The Stoics would say that freedom lies in self-mastery. And self-mastery And self-mastery begins the moment you decide to stop orbiting someone else's presence and start returning to your own gravity. This is where you remember your values, your mission, your sense of direction that existed before romance ever walked into the room. Maybe your core is the discipline you had when you trained every morning regardless of sleep or mood. Maybe it's the creative fire you once poured into painting, writing, building. Maybe it's the stillness you once found under the stars, journaling thoughts that weren't shaped by the fear of losing someone. You don't recover your core by force. You recover it by ritual, by gentle, repeated choices. You begin waking up a little earlier, not to impress anyone, but to hear your own thoughts before the world imposes its noise. You speak less from fear and more from alignment. You show up to your day with purpose, not performance. And slowly something within begins to hum again, that low, steady vibration of integrity. When someone pulls away, the most painful feeling is often not the distance. It's the disorientation, the sense of having built a part of your identity around them, only to watch it slip through your hands. But your core was never gone. Just quiet, just waiting for you to stop outsourcing your worth and start listening inward again. You see, being centered doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you care without crumbling. It means you can love someone deeply and still hold yourself sacred. When you get back to your core, you become someone they may not have even met before. Someone whole, someone radiant, someone who doesn't need them to shine, but who glows regardless. This transformation is not a trick. It's not about making them come back. It's about making sure that you come back. Because whether they return or not, you'll have gained something far more precious than approval. You'll have reclaimed yourself. And here's something to reflect on. What part of yourself have you neglected in past relationships? What core part of you went quiet while you were trying to make someone else stay? If you feel ready, share a piece of that in the comments. Let this space be a mirror, and maybe even a catalyst. Chapter 5. Reinforce your confidence. Confidence is not volume. It is not a loud entrance or a clever comeback. It's not the performance you offer to the world when you want to be seen as strong. Confidence, at its root, is quiet, a steady knowing of who you are, what you offer, and what you are not willing to lose in the name of love. And when someone starts to pull away, your confidence will be tested in a way few other things can. This is when the doubt creeps in. You wonder if you said too much or too little, if you were too available or not available enough. You start scanning yourself for flaws, as if editing your personality might make someone stay. You ask the wrong questions. What did I do wrong? How do I fix this? But the real question is simpler and much more powerful. How do I remain aligned with my highest self, even when someone's attention begins to fade? To reinforce your confidence, you must first identify the cracks. Not the ones in their affection, but the ones in your own foundation. Because confidence that crumbles in the face of uncertainty was never true confidence. It may have been conditional self-worth, propped up by validation, and when that validation begins to wane, the illusion of confidence dissolves. But true confidence is born in the quiet, in solitude, in rejection, in the moments when you must look inward and decide who you are without applause. Think back to a time when you felt unshakable. Maybe it was after completing something difficult, not because someone noticed, but because you knew. Maybe it was a season of solitude when you weren't trying to impress or perform. Maybe it was a moment of heartbreak when you realized that even as the relationship broke, you did not. That's the kind of confidence you must return to now. not by pretending this distance doesn't affect you, but by reminding yourself that it does not define you. There is a simple ritual you can begin today. Keep your promises to yourself. That's it. If you say you'll train, train. If you say you'll read, read. If you say you'll show up on time, show up. Each of these acts, while small, forges integrity. And integrity is the root of all lasting confidence. You stop being someone who relies on external praise and become someone who trusts their own follow-through. You must also resist the temptation to mold yourself into what you think will make them stay. Confidence is not found in compromise of identity. It is found in the quiet power of self-acceptance, in walking into the room or the conversation or even the goodbye with your head held high and your spirit unshaken. There's a shift that happens when you embody this. People feel it. You don't even need to speak it. They sense it in your posture, in your calm tone, in your willingness to walk away if you're not being met with equal presence. You are no longer negotiating your self-worth. You are no longer chasing someone who may not even know what they want. Reinforcing your confidence also means confronting your inner critic. The one who whispers that if someone is pulling away, it must mean something is wrong with you. Silence that voice not with noise, but with truth. You are not broken. You are not too much. You are not unworthy just because someone couldn't meet you where you are. And here's the paradox: when you stop needing them to validate your worth, that's when they might actually see it. Because you are no longer trying to be chosen. You have already chosen yourself, and that energy is rare. That energy is unforgettable. If you've ever experienced that kind of internal shift, where your confidence rose not from praise but from alignment, I'd invite you to share your story below. Not for attention, but for reflection. You may not know it, but your experience could help someone rebuild what they forgot was always within them. Chapter 6. Be there without overreaching. There's a fine line between being present and being overwhelming, between showing care and overstepping. When someone begins to pull away, the natural instinct is to try harder, to prove your value, to demonstrate your affection louder, clearer, more often. But here's the danger. Overreaching, even from a place of love, often suffocates the very connection you're trying to save. The truth is, people need space to feel. They need room to think, to process, to recalibrate. And while it may be painful to watch someone drift, clinging only increases the tension. Overreaching often communicates fear, not love. It says, I don't trust that we're strong enough to survive the silence. But a deeper love, a wiser love, knows how to stay present without invading, available without intruding, warm without being desperate for warmth in return. To be there without overreaching, you must cultivate emotional discipline. You must learn to resist the impulse to solve, to fix, to steer every moment back toward closeness. You become someone who respects timing, who understands that not all distance is rejection. Sometimes it's reflection, sometimes it's fear, sometimes it's life pulling at them in ways that have nothing to do with you. And even if it is about you, your role is not to beg for understanding. Your role is to observe, to listen, to respond from steadiness, not scramble. The way you hold yourself during these moments sends a message more powerful than any confession of love. It says, I can hold space. I can handle your distance. I don't vanish just because you do. But don't confuse stillness with passivity. Being there doesn't mean tolerating disrespect. It doesn't mean waiting forever in emotional purgatory. It means offering your presence without condition, for a time, while maintaining your self-respect. This may look like checking in, gently, without expectation. It may mean leaving a note of encouragement, and then giving them the gift of silence. It may mean saying, "I'm here if you want to talk," and meaning it, even if they don't respond. These are acts of grace, not groveling. They are love, not leverage. At the same time, you must watch your own energy. Are you giving because it's aligned, or because you're afraid of losing them? Are you offering support or baiting for reassurance? This kind of honesty with yourself is rare, but it's the only way to ensure that your presence remains pure, not performative. Being there without overreaching also means you're not waiting in stasis. Your life continues. Your joy continues. Your purpose does not pause because someone else is unsure. And this is perhaps the most powerful part of all. Your quiet strength in motion. You are there, but you are living. You are present, but not paused. In time, they will feel the contrast, the warmth that comes without pressure, the support that expects nothing in return, the presence that does not need a response to feel secure. And whether they return or drift further, you will have upheld something sacred. Your dignity. Let others chase. Let others beg. Let others lose themselves in pursuit. You, the Stoic, choose the middle path, where presence meets patience, and strength is measured not by how tightly you hold, but by how gracefully you let go when it's time. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this delicate balance. Have you ever managed to be there for someone without pushing or pleading? What helped you walk that line with grace? Your comment may be exactly what someone else needs right now. Chapter 7. Let them miss you. In the silence that follows someone pulling away, our instincts scream at us to fill the void. We rush in with texts, with reassurances, with attempts to prove our value before it's too late. But in doing so, we interrupt a vital process, the experience of absence, and absence is not always a threat. Sometimes it is a gift. Letting someone miss you is not about manipulation. It's about restraint. It's about trusting that space has a purpose, and that your presence carries weight. Weight that cannot be appreciated if you are always within reach, always filling the silence, always there to soothe their unease, before they even understand what they feel. The truth is, people cannot miss what never leaves. They cannot long for what constantly insists on being seen. When you are too available, emotionally, physically, digitally, you become the background music of their life. Always there, often unnoticed. But when you step back, not in anger but in grace, your absence becomes a mirror. It reflects your worth. It makes them ask questions they could never ask with you standing inches away. This is not about ghosting or punishment. This is about intentional distance, a gentle withdrawal that allows the other person to truly feel what your presence added to their life. You do not disappear with bitterness. You step aside with sovereignty, and in that space you allow something powerful to emerge. Perspective. Letting someone miss you requires patience. It means resisting the urge to correct the narrative, to explain yourself endlessly, to ask for reassurance. It means choosing silence over performance, confidence over control. And while the early moments of this practice may sting, the fear that they won't notice, that they'll move on, that you're being forgotten, it is in that stillness that clarity is born. Often, they do notice. Not in a flurry of messages, not in a dramatic return, but in quiet ways. A lingering thought, a moment of comparison, an unspoken void where your presence used to be. They begin to feel the echo of you, The things you used to say, the steadiness you brought, the subtle joys that went unacknowledged in the rush of routine. But this is not a tactic. It's a stance. If you're letting someone miss you just to lure them back, your energy will betray you. They'll feel the manipulation behind your silence. But if you step back because you know that your presence deserves recognition, your absence becomes sacred. While they navigate their thoughts, you do not wait idly. You build, you create, you grow, you fill your life with the richness of becoming, not to show them what they lost, but because you refuse to abandon yourself in the wake of someone else's confusion. Letting someone miss you is also an invitation to yourself, to return to your own depths, to rediscover the joy of solitude, to re-engage with the parts of your life that once made your eyes light up long before this person arrived. You see, the most magnetic people are not those who chase. They are not those who convince. They are those who hold space with poise, who know when to step back, who understand that true connection cannot be forced. It must be felt. You become unforgettable not when you plead to stay, but when you walk away with grace, allowing the other person to feel, really feel, what life is like without your light in it. And sometimes they come back, not because you begged, but because they realized what they lost. Sometimes they don't. And even then, you are whole, because you never stopped being someone worthy of longing. You simply gave them the space to realize it. If you've ever chosen to step back, not out of pride but out of principle, and saw the power of that absence, share your story below. The wisdom in your stillness may resonate more deeply than you realize. Chapter 8. Rebuild Mystery. In the beginning, everything is unknown. Every glance feels like a secret. Every moment is charged with potential. There is mystery, not because you're hiding, but because you haven't been fully discovered. And then, slowly, familiarity sets in. Routines form. Vulnerabilities are shared. Boundaries blur. You become known. And while that closeness is beautiful, it also begins to erode one of the most compelling forces in attraction. When someone starts to pull away, it often coincides with a loss of mystery. Not because you revealed your heart, but because you stopped being surprising. Predictability became the norm. Your rhythm matched theirs too perfectly, and the dance of duality of self and other gave way to a sameness that dulled the spark. To rebuild mystery is not to play games. It is not to withhold affection or create false distance. It is to reclaim your edges, to become someone who is not fully legible, not because you are evasive, but because you are evolving, because you are not stagnant, because you are not so easily captured. Mystery doesn't mean being distant. It means being deep. It means having thoughts you don't always share, projects you're working on quietly, dreams you pursue with quiet conviction. It means allowing silence to exist without always filling it. It means you are no longer a constant stream of access, but a constellation, something they must lift their eyes to see, and can never fully map. To rebuild mystery, you must return to curiosity, not just about them, but about life itself. Pick up a new skill, explore a topic that fascinates you, go places alone, learn to move in ways that are not tied to anyone's gaze. Become more than the partner, the lover, the attachment. Become a presence, full, shifting, alive. In mystery, there is invitation. Come closer, it whispers. but know that I do not end where you begin. That kind of energy is rare. It's magnetic, and it is not found in perfection or performance. But in wholeness, you can also cultivate mystery in how you communicate. Don't always rush to reply. Let your words carry intention, not anxiety. Speak when you have something to say, not when you fear being forgotten. And remember, presence is felt in quality, not quantity. A thoughtful moment is more memorable than 10 hollow ones. Rebuilding mystery also requires boundaries. Not walls, boundaries. Spaces in your life that are yours alone. Time that you don't explain. Passions that you pursue without needing validation. This is not secrecy, it's sovereignty. Think of the people you admire most, those whose presence draws you in without effort. Chances are they carry themselves with quiet self-possession. You sense that there's more beneath the surface. You're intrigued. You're magnetized. And it's not because they're trying to be mysterious. It's because they are living fully, and you can feel that life radiating from them. Be that. Let your silence hum with purpose. Let your distance be filled with meaning. Let them wonder, not because you are absent, but because you are layered, because you are not easily decoded, because you are a world, not a window. And if they lean in again, curious, drawn back by the new light in your eyes, don't rush to explain. Let them discover. Let them earn your depths. Because mystery is not about withholding. It's about unfolding. Slowly, intentionally, beautifully. Now, here's a reflection for you. When was the last time you felt like a mystery to someone else or to yourself? What part of you have you been neglecting that might hold your most magnetic energy? I invite you to share it below. This might just be the beginning of your re-emergence. Chapter 9. Radiate Self-Assurance. Self-assurance is not loud. It's not boastful. It doesn't beg to be noticed. It simply exists, quietly, completely, unmistakably. When someone begins to pull away, many instinctively double down on their efforts to be liked. But the wiser path, the Stoic path, is to double down on your self-belief, not through words, but through the energy you carry into every room, every pause, every decision. That is the essence of radiating self-assurance. To radiate is to emit something not through force, but through being. A flame does not plead for attention. It glows, it flickers, it warms. The same is true for those who are rooted in who they are. Their presence does not demand approval, because their value is not contingent on another's gaze. And in that very lack of need lies magnetic power. When someone senses your self-assurance, they sense safety. Not just safety in you, but safety in how you navigate connection. You do not cling. You do not chase. You do not perform. You are whole, and that wholeness offers them the space to breathe, to explore, to return if and when they are ready. But self-assurance is not something you claim overnight. It's forged in fire, in solitude, in the moments when no one texts back, when plans fall through, when the heart grows quiet, and you must decide who you are, without applause. It's built when you keep showing up for yourself at the gym, on the page, in your craft, in your values, regardless of who is watching. You stop living for reaction. You start living from alignment. Radiating self-assurance also means walking into silence without shrinking. It means that when the message goes unanswered, you do not spiral. When the invitation is declined, you do not collapse. When the invitation is declined, you do not collapse. When the conversation cools, you do not reach for panic. You breathe, you reflect, you stay rooted because you know your worth, and your worth does not evaporate just because someone else is unsure how to hold it. There's an energy shift that happens when this becomes your default. People begin to treat you differently, not out of fear, but out of respect. They sense your standards, your clarity, your inner compass. They begin to realize that being in your presence is not a given. It is a privilege. Self-assurance also requires boundaries, not as walls, but as self-honoring structures. You know what you will and will not accept. You can still be loving, kind, and open, but you are no longer endlessly available, no longer pouring from an empty cup, no longer abandoning yourself just to keep someone from leaving. It's in this state that your energy becomes contagious. You walk differently. You speak more slowly. You make eye contact without fear. You are not trying to win anyone over. You are simply being fully, richly, deeply. And those who resonate with that will draw closer, not because you persuaded them, but because you reminded them of something they want to become. If you've ever stepped into a room and felt that shift, when you finally owned who you are, scars and all, I invite you to share that moment below. Describe what it felt like. You never know who might need to hear that it's possible. Chapter 10. Know when to let go. Letting go is not weakness. It is wisdom. It is not a retreat from love, but a return to self-respect. The final, and often most agonizing, move in this journey is also the most necessary one. Knowing when to stop reaching, knowing when to close the door, not with rage, not with drama, but with clarity, with peace. We are taught that love means holding on, that endurance is noble, that if you just try hard enough, care deeply enough, stay long enough, anything can be fixed. But some things are not meant to be mended. Some connections are chapters, not lifetimes. And some distances only grow wider the more you chase them. To know when to let go is to tune into the quiet signals. When your effort is met with silence, when your value is questioned, when you are shrinking, contorting, waiting, always waiting. And slowly you begin to feel the cost. Not the cost of losing them, but the cost of losing you. This is where the Stoic heart must rise. This is where you must ask the question not of them, but of yourself. Who am I becoming by holding on? Am I growing, or am I gripping out of fear? Out of nostalgia, out of the illusion that love requires sacrifice of the self. Letting go does not mean forgetting. It does not mean pretending you didn't care. It means honoring the past without allowing it to define your future. It means carrying forward the lesson, not the wound. It means thanking the experience, even the painful parts, and then gently stepping away from the door you've been knocking on too long. It also means trusting in what you cannot yet see. That something deeper, more aligned, more reciprocal, is waiting, but only if you are willing to release what has run its course. You see, when you let go, something remarkable happens. You breathe again. You begin to hear your own voice, no longer drowned by the noise of longing. You sleep more deeply. You laugh without guilt. You rediscover your reflection, not through their eyes, but through your own. And yes, the pain will come in waves. That is natural. But each wave will pass, and with each passing, a new strength will surface. Not the brittle kind, not the kind built from denial or detachment, but the soft, fierce strength of someone who chose themselves, who loved deeply, and then released when it no longer served either soul Letting go is the ultimate act of faith. Faith that your presence is enough, that your path continues beyond this ending, that love is not lost. It is simply being redirected. If you're in that place right now, standing at the edge, unsure whether to hold on or move on, listen not to your fear, but to your truth. It's okay to walk away. It's okay to close the door. And it's more than okay to rise after. I invite you to share below. What helped you let go? What finally told you it was time? Someone else may be standing where you once stood, waiting for that same permission. Conclusion. They pulled away. And you didn't chase, you chose. You chose calm over chaos, reflection over reaction, self-respect over self-abandonment. And whether they come back or remain distant, you have already won. Because you rose instead of crumbling. You grew instead of grasping. You became someone who can love without losing themselves. This path is not for the faint of heart. It takes strength to remain composed in confusion. It takes clarity to stay centered in uncertainty. But every time you choose discipline over impulse, every time you return to your core, every time you let them feel your absence without begging to be seen, you are building a kind of gravity that no one can ignore. And maybe, just maybe, they will feel that pull. Maybe they will remember. Or maybe someone new, someone aligned, someone worthy of your depths will step forward, drawn by the light of someone who never dimmed just to stay close. If this video stirred something in you, if it reminded you of your value, your strength, or your path, I invite you to like it, to subscribe to the Everlasting Stoic, and to share it with someone who needs these words as much as you did. And more than anything, I invite you to comment. Share your story, your moment of clarity, your turning point. This isn't just a channel, it's a community. A gathering of those who are done with noise and ready for depth. You are not alone, and you are more powerful than you know.